again in that year with the flooding and stuff, like the entirety of North Karnataka was facing very heavy backlash from rains, where there was a lot of flooding and a lot of there were a lot of red warnings there. So that's when the shoots kept getting delayed, and I started thinking that maybe it's just a scam. Maybe they're just calling me up and they're just gonna waste my. So what's up?
Yeah, so hi Rati, welcome to Against the Current on Colors of Humans. Um,
Hey, what's up, guys? How you guys doing?
yeah, we're good. You're a drone pilot, right?
Yep.
So how did you get started with like drones and stuff?
All right. So I think I got started in 2015, actually, like November-ish 2015, somewhere around the time where, I think it was around Christmas. So I'd seen these videos online where I was like, wow, there are some really fast drones just flying around in the forest, and I really enjoyed the look of it. Like it was like, some tiny LEDs just moving about in the forest, and like it looked like the coolest thing ever. And obviously when you see something like that as a kid, you think that's so cool, I want to do it. And that's how exactly, that's what started my journey into drones. And then obviously I did a bit more research, bought the parts that I could buy, started from there. And in 2016, I got into what I'm doing currently, which is in FPV drone racing.
So what is FPV and what are you into right now? Like,
Okay, so a simple explanation is, when you think about flying, you obviously think like, you do this and then you think that you're flying. So what I'm doing right now is just connecting my eyes and sitting in basically the cockpit area of my drone. So one second, let me just. So this is a drone. This is the FPV drone. So an FPV drone is basically just a really bonkers drone. It's like it can do anything and everything that you wanted to do, and it can stay like this, do this, and things like that. So FPV is basically called as first person view, or the full form of it is first person view. Which in I'm pretty sure if you're into gaming or anything like that, you have something called FPS, which is first person shooter. It's when you are in a POV of the person holding the gun, you can see something like your hands and stuff like that. So instead, over here you see this camera right here. This is exactly what I am seeing. So it's basically like I am in the cockpit of the drone while I'm flying it. So that's FPV in a very short way of saying it.
uh, I've I also like know you personally, so I know you're part of like a lot of projects, and one of them was with the Karnataka Forest Department, right? And how did you
Yep.
get started with like the video aspect of it? Like this is more of racing and stuff, FPV, and I
Of
mean people
course.
do shoot film with it, but then it's also like two completely different fields.
All right. So um, I think in October 2018, one of our friends had, he basically used to shoot with the bigger drones, like the Phantom and stuff. Like, you see the weddings and like the general things that are used for making films.
The
So he'd
DJI
called us down
models.
to a drag racing event. Yeah, the DJI models. So he'd called us down to a drag racing event, and it was called Vroom. So over there, he got a pass, and then we decided to go along with him. We just decided to tag along. We are like, you know what, let's just go have fun. Like it's a drag meet. I'm pretty sure like everybody will be like-minded and they'd love to get their cars chased by a really fast drone. And that's exactly where like I first started seeing potential into the kind of market that is to cater to these sort of videos where they need something really fast paced and things like that. um So that's when I started thinking about transitioning into the FPV drones being the next replacement for a DJ. Not a replacement exactly, but like a very big niche to the entire aerial cinematographic platform. So that's when I started thinking about it, and then I started getting opportunities slowly. So I met this friend of mine. Now he's a friend of mine, but his name is Shikhar, and Shikhar was I like basically a friend of a friend of a friend type of thing, where he contacted me for a shoot, and I went for that shoot. He tagged me on his Instagram post, because of which I got connected to other people. That person was directly working with the forest department. His name is Sandeep, another great friend of mine. Sandeep was working with the forest department, and he had some project ongoing with him, which is a coffee table book. For those of you guys who don't know what a coffee table book is, it's just a very big picture book which has a bit of description on it. So like the entire thing was going to be filled with pictures and stuff like that. And we just wanted a soft release video, where we can have a small video to go along with the book's release. So that's when he told me, hey man, why don't you come along? We need a drone photographer, and we also need someone to get us a good output of the entire video side of things. I went there in very blind, to be very honest. Like, I didn't know much. Like, I didn't appreciate wildlife as much as I did up till the shoot. And then, like, I was pretty much just a very big noob when it comes to it. Like, I didn't know too much about how things worked. And this experience kind of helped me get to the point of, going from I'm just doing this for fun to, like, okay, this is something I can get very serious about and I can get very serious output. So the entire forest department thing just started off because of Sandeep pitching in an idea to the forest department saying, hey man, why don't you guys release a coffee table book, which will be like, it's a nice thing to have on the table where you can see a lot of the landscapes and the stuff that Karnataka has to offer. And trust me, it's vast. So that's when I got contacted by Sandeep. He told me about the shoot, and that's exactly how we started working on the project.
You
Yeah.
said you started off as a so-called noob, right? And now here you are. You're doing it, I guess, full time. Isn't that fair to say?
I mean, okay, so one thing is, you think, okay, drones in terms of full time is never going to be anyone, for that matter of fact, into the creative space. They're gonna find a hard time to do something like this full
Okay,
time. They always have something going on the sides, like their investments and things like that. So I'm pretty sure, like most creators, not all of them, most creators are invested, and who are trying to do it full time are invested in other things except for just the kind of things that they're doing.
right. Okay. My question was, you said you started off with, you went into it thinking of it as, yeah, just another thing that you do for fun, right? And yeah, here you are now with all the experience you've gained. I just wanted to know what the learning curve was like for you personally.
Okay, so right now, at this situation in 2021, if you want to get good at flying drones, it's a very simple, easy step, and your curve will be extremely steep at the start. Then it'll start gradually, becoming a little linear, and then you get to a good level once you start doing things. But at the time that I started, it was not just okay. So I would say I am more of a hobbyist in terms of these things. Like, I'm not going out there, I'm just getting, I'm not buying pre-built things like a normal drone and then just flying that. So I had to learn so many different skills along with just the drones. Like, okay, assembling a drone, flying the drone, that is a skill set on its own. But research, the spare parts that you need, soldering, for that matter of fact, soldering, cinematography, a lot of these things had to, it gets added on, and like it becomes a very big pool of a lot of skills that you start, you know, mustering in yourself. So the learning curve for like anything, if you want to get into any sort of hobby situation, it'll be a very, very steep curve. And it's like, that is not the case anymore because of the advancement of technology and stuff. For me personally, um, I started maybe here, and I had to already reach this level before I even started off. And from here, I
Okay.
had to go somewhere else. somewhere else, and then somewhere else. It is all very haphazard, and it was just steep, 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 steep. But right now, it gets steep up to a small point, and it just becomes linear after a point in time.
Wow. Okay. Hmm.
Now, I want to know about your, like, you've done a shoot with Red Bull, and you've also done the shoot, the Karnataka Forest Department shoot, right? So I want to know, like, the experiences you had, and just like run us through how that was. Especially, I remember you
Okay,
told me the Red Bull one was a bit of a short notice type of thing.
right. So Red Bull was just like a week's notice, but since it was Red Bull, they do a few things spontaneously, and like it's fine because I just had to travel down to Hyderabad. It was a very I would say an eye-opening experience because like I went there. I was like, okay, so they called me up. Then I went via train because traveling with drones in a flight really not the ideal case. And since I had to reach there for it's a paid shoot, right? You have to show up. So my safety net was I will take a train all the way to Hyderabad. I get off, get a cab, get whatever, go to the shoot site, spend the day there, shoot everything, come back home, edit, give them the file. That was the deal. I went to Hyderabad in the train, went, got off, took a scooter instead of a cab. Um, I decided I want to go for a Vogo because hey man, it's a new city, right? Like I want to travel the city. Yeah. Went traveled all through the city. Basically, I had to go from the center of Hyderabad all the way to the highway side of things because that is exactly where my good friend Hamza's pump track is. It's called a pump track where you know you use a lot of your body to start cycling there. Um, then we went there, we shot, we did everything. It was a very fun shoot because again, as a student, Red Bull is like the most important thing, right? And you had a free flow of Red Bull. I would have drank like 3 Red Bulls just because it like I was just there. Then you had pizza and like just the just the kind of atmosphere that was built up there. Met some really cool people like um they are into cycling, the stunts, and like skateboarding and things like that. I got to try out a bit of skateboarding. The kind of things that you see abroad, like oh, they're in the skate park. Wow, that kind of stuff. I did skateboard before, but it was not that intense. Yeah, so I gained a lot more from going to that place because there was so much to do. Like it was a really cool spot, really chill spot. They let us record however we wanted, and it was just a very fun experience in general to work with Red Bull because of how laid back they are with your creativity. They're like, you need to run wild, you need to do your thing, just give us a good final output. And it worked out perfectly for me. I gave them a good final output, got everything sorted out. Um, Now, the fun was when I was traveling back from the pump track all the way back to the train station. Yeah, so I started seeing a bit of drizzle. It was cloudy for the entire day, but I didn't expect it to rain. So it just started drizzling. So I put a cover around my bag. I put a cover around my drones and stuff like that. I thought, okay, maybe if I reach maybe I reach the train station fast enough, I might just outride the storm. Yeah, no, I basically just walked into the storm and I was stuck in Hyderabad roads for what a good 2 hours. So uh, anybody who's watching from Hyderabad would know Hyderabad rains are the worst. It becomes the equivalent of Mumbai when it heavily rains, where like you get like a lot of water rise and stuff. I mean, recently we did see the Hyderabad floods, right? So it became somewhat like that. I was completely drenched from like head to toe, and I was wearing boots. Like that's what I wear to shoots. My boots had so much water in them. Um, the entire plan was to go to Paradise Biryani, have a good biryani, and then get onto the train and then go back home. Yeah, I did not reach Paradise Biryani. I barely made it into the train. I just got some food at the train station, and as soon as I came into the compartment, everyone was looking at me like, "Yo, who is this weirdo?" Uh, I had to go to the washroom. I had to like, take my boot and turn it upside down because of the amount of water it was fucking holding. So very amazing. Like it was a very surreal situation in terms of, the experience I had overall. Now, when it comes to this forest department thing, I had it in two phases. A lot of things happened again in that year with the flooding and stuff. Like the entirety of North Karnataka was facing very heavy backlash from rains, where like there was a lot of flooding and a lot of there were a lot of red warnings there. So that's when the shoots kept getting delayed, and I started thinking that maybe it's just a scam. Maybe they're just calling me up and they're just gonna waste my time and they're gonna like keep me here for a while. But to my like not to my surprise, obviously, like uh the weather cleared up. We decided that we'll go in December, and I think from December 10th to the 20th of December, we were just three of us, the executive producer Sandeep and me. The three of us traveled basically the entirety of Karnataka, the north side of Karnataka. We started off like very close by from I think we were in I think Hampi. Yeah, we started in Hampi the first day. From Hampi, we went to Badami, all these other places which are around North Karnataka, which are very scenic, to all the way to Karwar, and then all the way back to Chikmagalur. So we traveled for 10 days, for 10 entire days. We were just on the road, staying in forest guest houses, which is an amazing thing because the hospitality over there crazy. So we were staying in forest guest houses, so we had access to the entire forest for ourselves. We were also joined by the by the other higher ups. Sometimes they would come, they would just like help us out to get our shoot done. So that way I learned a lot. I learned to eat a lot. I learned different kinds of food. I learned different kind of work ethics that you need to have, and like dealing with a lot of different people. I think for me, an overall growth, the Karnataka Forest Department shoot was just another stepping stone for me, because I had crazy, personal growth because of like, I learned how to eat a few things that I would never eat. I learned how to, survive in situations where should be surviving in, and all sorts of things. And plus, like, we didn't give a shit about comfort. We didn't give a shit about anything at the end of the day. As long as we got a bed, we would pass out. Leave a bed, as long as we got a car seat, we would pass out. Any sleep and every sleep was important to us. For 10 days, we had been going up, down, and like traveling every day. Came back home, and then okay, so I was taking somewhat of a 6 month vacation from college because I got a year back and I didn't have any subjects in that semester. So I was basically off for like the past 5 months. I had nothing to do. In between, I went to this competition, which is the Asia Drone League and stuff, like which is in Malaysia. So after that, I like, I call this the post forest depression. So you start going into a state where you think like, nothing that you do matters anymore. Nothing that you do in your city life matters anymore. It is where you belong, is like, where you belong is in the wildlife. Like you start realizing that when you're out going on a journey, nothing matters to you. And then suddenly you're put back in a situation where like, you're going to face things like college pressure, pressure from everything around you. And like, it just became a very weird situation for me and I almost broke down. But then life in the city is life in the city, and you need to take off from it pretty quickly. um, the only good news and the only thing that really helped me out was the fact that Sandeep called me up again saying that, hey man, there is a phase 2 also for this shoot that you have to come for because it's even more important. So I went ahead with the phase 2 of the shoot, and there is like that's when I started like realizing what wildlife is, because then we went to the southern part of Karnataka, which is Kabini, Nagarhole, BR Hills, Keguri. Believe it or not, in Keguri we got to stay at a forest guest house which was built 100 something years ago, which is like another experience of its own. Keguri, for that matter of fact, I was dining with wild boars going around here and there. So like I just had wild boars just like coming in through camp, then going away, and we're just out there, we're just eating our food, and like really good scene, bonfire, and just talking to the forest guards and like their stories and stuff like that. uh then again, we were supposed to release our book in March. that got delayed due to COVID. Then a lot of delays happened. Then these guys decided, you know what, since you're doing nothing, might as well go again. Because let's face it, none of us were doing anything. And that's when I think around June, July, we decided to go back into the forest and finish off any of the shoots that would have been pending. And that's when I got the waterfall shot, which is like, I think, which is gonna become a legacy sort of a thing for me, because anyone and everyone I talk to these days is like, oh dude, I love that waterfall shot. So I'm like, I'm just very grateful for the fact that I got that sort of shots and stuff like that. So in terms of like everything, forest department shoot was a humongous growth for me. It taught me patience, anything and everything for like life development, like life skills, professional ethics, and overall just how to be better in like the craft that you're doing. Best experience ever.
Now, like you told me, you started off from watching YouTube videos, and then you said you wanted to do that. From that to what you just told me, like, I mean, it's probably like a crazy journey, but how has it been? Like, how's the experience? And like, what is that emotion?
Very up and down actually. There like there are times where you lose all hope because you've broken everything. Like I just recently had this situation where I'd gone to Mahakali Durga. Mahakali Durga is a nice trekking spot in Bangalore, which is like around about 60 kilometers from my place. So I'd gone there, and opposite to that, there's a really nice hill where like I thought, okay, if I make a video out here, it'll be the coolest thing ever. I went there, some issues happened. Again, drones are not perfect, especially if it's being handmade by me or anybody else for the matter of fact. There are a lot of fail safes. So that drone basically just went and crashed out of just the situation it was in. It went and crashed on top of a mountain. That was like 50K gone. That was 50K stuck on top of a hill that I cannot get to. And like at the time, especially right after COVID, it was just like, wow, I really blew it. Like my drone stuck somewhere in the middle of nowhere, and I'm just here like, what am I gonna do? It like there are constant knockdowns that you get. Like sometimes you go out, burn something. Like it's an electronic component which deals in very high current. So you start burning things, you start losing things, you start losing your hope, you start losing a lot of the kind of mindset you have, because like the amount of losses do add up, and like money starts becoming an issue. So what I've seen, whenever that happens, it's just like a part of something that you do. Like it's just like starting a small business, right? It's just like the kind of joys that come through are the days when things just work perfectly. You get a really good video, and like those days really make it worthwhile for you to go through these bad days. So the experience has always been positive for me. It's always going to make me learn more as a person, and I'm all about like learning more life skills, learning more things. And it really helps out when you have a hobby that makes you constantly want to learn, constantly wants to keep you up to date with things. So again, like if you have the kind of zeal that you want to go fly drones and stuff like that, take the leap of faith, do it. Trust me, it'll take you places where you wouldn't believe.
That was like really,
Is there
that was really cool. Like the way you explained it. Like it just shows that like even though like it can be anything that you're doing, there's a lot of things you can learn that's not necessary with respect to that field. It can be just general growth, and that's pretty cool. Yeah, cool. Go ahead with your question.
I just wanted to ask you, you just spoke about your bad days and then the good days making up for, having those said bad days. My question really is, how do you keep yourself going when you have a hardship? For example, you said you lost a drone at the top of some random hill, right? And you couldn't retrieve it. How do you keep yourself going without learning? You just said that, right? How do you keep learning
So
from each experience?
right, one thing is always have a backup drone. So this drone that I just Well, cool. Yeah. So this drone that I showed you guys, again, it's been getting updated and things like that. Like, things keep changing on it, but I make sure I have one flying thing always on me. So it might be anything else. And like in general, the kind of situations that I have right now, being this, like, I have a light here. I think you can see it rolling on my face. So these things I've just made DIY. Like I just started making things just because I got bored as shit at home, right? So I was like, okay, you know what? I have some soldering skills. I know I can work with general electronics, or like, there are things that as a human being you'd love to be occupied no matter what you do, no matter how you think, oh, your life in wildlife will be the best thing ever because you don't have to you don't have a train of thought. We love to be busy. We want something to go on in our lives, and if nothing, we find some sort of an outlet for it. Like, we have so many hobbies. Like people start off with hobbies like singing, guitar, keyboard, violin, things such as like musical instruments that will like help you when you are bored, or like it'll develop some sort of skill for you, all the way to like people do traveling as a hobby, and like it just matures up, right? So I would say all you need to do is like make sure you keep yourself busy with what you're doing. And if you don't if you are in a setback sort of a situation, take the setback, take it with a grain of salt, but make sure that you never have that setback again. If a system has failed on me, I will make sure to rectify that sort of system, wherein to the point where I remember coming back home, I took where it go again? So I took this drone. It has the same sort of system on it, which failed on me that day. I took it all around my house. Like I took it to like 2 blocks ahead of me. I did a lot of testing with it, and I did anything and everything I could to make sure I found out the problem. Came back, did some firmware upgrades, did some other modifications for it, checked if the antenna was correctly placed, all sorts of things like that. And I made sure, like, these sort of things don't happen to me again. It does keep happening. It's not like, again, it's the will of nature when something kind of persists. But I make sure, like, every time that I do something, I keep learning from that place, and then just making sure that that thing never really occurs to me again. So it's all about how you perceive the kind of setback you get. Am I audible? Or
Yeah, you
Yeah.
are,
okay,
you
okay,
are.
sorry. So it's all about the kind of setback that you get in the start, wherein like, okay, fine, this happened to me. It's like getting screwed over by a friend or something like that. You make sure you develop a guard around it. So that's what happens. And then if you keep getting yourself involved in situations like, I started a podcast during the lockdown. It didn't go very far, but I did start it. Just like me and my friend were really kind of, we just were kind of anxious to create something, so we just started a
I've
podcast.
seen the
So
podcast.
things, when you keep yourself busy, so when you keep yourself busy, that is exactly when, like, you'll realize you have more potential in yourself than just the kind of skill that you were aiming for. Yes, I'm good at drones, but also I've started becoming good at video editing. I've become good at audio editing. I've become good at, like, in general, photography and things like that. So every step of the way there's something to learn, as I said before. So just make sure, like, if plan A doesn't work, go for plan B, go for something else. Leave this thing entirely, leave it for another day. It's having a bad day, let it have a bad day. Switch your focus onto something else. So things like that.
I have
That's
one.
great life advice, honestly.
Yeah, that was good. I have one last question, and it's kind of like it's very like I know like the answer is going to be huge, but if you could like make it as com like compressed for like the
Short
audience.
as possible. Got it.
Yeah. What is the scope of drones in India? And like I know like a lot it's not that big in India, right? So like a lot of people it's mostly seen like in wedding shoots, like now it's seen in wedding shoots or in like major film shoots. But as in FPV and stuff is still it's still coming up. So what is the scope of India, especially with the rules to like fly drones? And then if someone wanted to get into droning, what should they do?
Okay, so that's a lot of questions in one question. That'll take me a while to answer, but I'll make it as short as possible. First thing, how to get into drones. Either you buy the drone or you buy a simulator. You buy a simulator, which is a computer software, plug in your PS4 controller, Xbox controller, either one. It just works. Try flying it. If you get a hang of it, go further. Otherwise, don't even bother. You don't like it, you don't like it. Do not waste money on FPV. It's not worth it. Second thing, the scope of drones in India, especially with the regulations, lots of regulations exist, but they're all on paper, but they're not really enforced. So no matter what you do, it's not going to come into a point where it gets enforced anytime soon. You can mess around with drones as much as you like at this point in time, at least. This is a good time for you to like get into drones and like mess about with drones, because people are saying drones are the future of things. But again, that's again taken with a grain of salt. So I would say, best for now to get into drones, get a simulator, get the things sorted out for yourself. Best way to go about it. Scope doesn't exist at the moment. There's only going to be talk right now. It's all going to be, oh yeah, Swiggy's doing drone delivery, and Swiggy's investing into drone delivery and things like that. Don't be fooled by it. It's very far. Now, a place like India, for that matter of fact, I'll just say this as is, like as plain as I can. Imagine this, right? A drone comes up to your roof, lands, drops a package, and then takes off, goes back to where it came from. Now, in this transit, going back, coming back from, anybody can throw a net, right? They'll just throw a net at it. Screwed, gone. Your drone's gone. They're just gonna take it. If they unplug the battery and they have intelligence enough to unplug the battery, the drone does not have any other redundancy systems until unless you design it to make sure that the GPS keeps going on or things like that. And it's very easy. You just need a bit of tinfoil. Just put tinfoil around it, like they say tinfoil hat. Put a tinfoil hat on the drone, and it becomes the dumbest thing on the planet. It does not have any recollection of where it is. It's just void of anything. uh, I'm just saying this, like, in India, when you think about it, lots of new technologies get added on. Lots of those technologies get stolen, or like they make sure that it doesn't work properly. Third thing, lots of politics are going to be involved into all these things, and by the time you see proper drone regulations coming into place, it's going to be a far away time. I'm saying at least 5 years from now is when you're going to start seeing the enforcing of these drone rules. Licensing, on the other hand of thing, on the other hand, is easy. It's expensive, but it's easy. You can get it done, but it's only going to be applicable to you after a long time, and you have to keep renewing the license every year. So that's the kind of gist I'll put of it.
Yeah, I mean, I know that like drones pretty much are like useful, at least for society, and I hope that like it's used much more in India than it is used right now. Um, Also with FPV as like a hobby and stuff like that for people to get into. That's all I had for today. So thank you for joining us on Colors of Humans. And I'm sure you have a lot.
Thank you, Jacob. Thank you, Akal.
I'm sure you have a lot more projects that are coming up. So all the best for those because
I actually do. So here's a small reveal of something that I've been working on.
Is
So
this an exclusive?
not really, kind of, but this is the next FPV drone that I have. So when you put it as a scale,
Whoa, okay. It's
yeah,
almost
you're getting
what,
my
two
point.
times?
So worse because it has not only one motor but two motors. So it's going to be
Oh, wow.
like capable of carrying at least 2.5 kgs on like a minimum, like where I can still fly the drone around. So expect that project, expect it on my Instagram, expect it everywhere, like that I will be. Been test flying it, been doing a lot of work with it. So hopefully in the near future, it's going to be capable of carrying any DSLR, for that matter of fact, any DSLR.
Oh,
Um, I am using my Alpha 6400 on this, and I have been doing a bit of like just the kind of testing and stuff.
so it's
But there is a cool
operational
project
now.
coming up, which is going to again span for a year. What?
It's operational now, like the drone.
Yeah, it is. It is. It's operational. It's just that I am not using it. Like again, the only reason why I agreed to the meeting right now is because I didn't have to. I didn't have enough things to go and test fly the drone. Otherwise, I would be out testing out the drone because I have a project coming up which is going to last me at least another year. Again, it's not really
No
a project
spoilers.
that I have to be super invested in, but it is a project that is coming up. It's a spoiler. It's a spoiler. Yes, it's a spoiler. There's a project coming up which is going to span a good amount of time, hopefully. And if it becomes what I'm hoping it becomes, it's like it's just gonna be like I'm basically going all over the place with this. So if again, if this drone works the way it's supposed to work, I don't think like I will have any dry content or like just days when I don't have content. So I'm hoping for that the project to start very quickly once hopefully it starts up, and hoping that maybe I could share some of the things and I won't be under an NDA contract or some shit like that. So fingers crossed, hopefully this happens, and that's about it.
Yeah, I
That's
mean,
brilliant, man.
a DSLR on a drone, that's going to be some crazy. I've seen your content already, so I know that's going to be some crazy stuff now. So, yeah, I mean,
Yep.
not disclosing much, but I think that's a really cool project to look
Yeah, that's
forward to.
exactly. Yeah, I have a project coming up, which is actually just makes me super excited. It makes me look forward to things in the future. It's just not like just build a big drone. Don't have any much for it.
Okay, on that note, I think like after this project is done, that you have another show with us, and then you explain the whole project.
For sure, for sure, for sure. It'll take you
Okay,
guys a while, but I mean, it'll take me a while, but for sure, I'll come back on you. I'll keep you updated, Chekhov.
we'll be here. It's fine. And
Yeah, we'll be here.
so, anyway, thank you so much, Rati. All the best for the project. That drone looks amazing. It's
Thank you guys
definitely
so
a
much for
killer.
having me.
As always, man.
I'll send you guys a video of it flying if you guys want. Just an
Yeah,
exclusive for
for
you guys.
sure.
Like if you want to pro, yeah.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, guys. Thank you guys so much for having me on here.
Okay, bye, Rati.
See you, man. Take
Bye
care.
bye.